Hi, this is Chandler with World Gone Silent, and for the next couple of videos I want to explain what all this stuff is. You can do all sorts of things with ham radio, whether it's talking around the neighborhood or talking around the world. If you just want to use your voice, send emails over the internet, or set up a mesh network between different computers. You can operate portably or out of your house. There's all sorts of capability that's available with amateur radio, and for the next few videos I'm going to explain how all this stuff works. Whenever we've talked about a radio, there's four pieces you need to have. You need a power supply. With this handheld, it's the battery pack in the back. You need an antenna of some sort. You need a transmitter and receiver, that's the guts inside of the radio itself. And you need some way to interface with the radio. In my case, it's the microphone on here and your voice. This radio operates on VHF and UHF frequencies. Those are line of sight frequencies. But if you want to talk further, you need a different kind of radio. Line of sight frequencies hit the atmosphere and keep going into outer space forever. But there's a different kind of radio that uses frequencies that actually go up into the atmosphere and bounce around the globe. And with that little trick, you can use it to communicate all over the world. That's what this guy is. This is an HF radio. There are plenty of others like it, but this is the one that I had in my house. This radio let me make contacts with people all over the world. And that opens up one particularly interesting part of amateur radio, DXing. Any radio, just like this one, has to have those four pieces: power, antenna, transmit and receive, and some form of interface. It's the same with this HF radio right here. This is an ICOM IC7300.
The ICOM IC7300.
This radio itself is the receiver and transmitter. You need a power supply. In this case, you can actually plug it into a power supply that plugs into your wall, since you'll be operating it from inside the house. But you can also run this kind of radio off of a battery. We're using a battery pack like this guy. This is one I use to go and operate portable, but as you can see, it also works for this radio here in the house. So that covers the receive and transmit part, and that covers the power part. But what about the antenna? An antenna for a radio like this is very different from the antenna on a radio like this. With a handheld radio like this is all you need for an antenna. HF frequencies are longer wavelengths, and because they're longer, you need a lot more antenna. And when I say a lot more antenna, I mean a lot more antenna. All this wire connects to this central piece, which has a connector in the bottom that lets you plug it into the radio. See how long these wires are. In addition to the antenna, you need some way to connect the antenna into your house. So you're going to need some more stuff. Here's feed line right here. I use this feed line plugged into the center of this antenna. Alright, so here's your antenna. Here's your transmitter and receiver. We've already talked about the power supply. What about the interface part? With this radio, I can obviously use the microphone to transmit, but it also has a sound card built into it. So I can use this computer right here and plug it into the radio. There are all sorts of different kinds of digital modes that you can use in radio. Really popular one right now is called FT8. You send a 15-second long transmission, and somebody else will respond in the next 15-second window. It lets you make contacts with people all over the world, and each connection is about a minute and a half each. These are some of the cards that I've gotten from people around the world.
There's Sardinia. This guy's in Macedonia. This one was my furthest one. It says Penryn Atoll in the Northern Cook Islands.
When it comes to DXing, or contacting faraway stations, there's an award that you get when you've contacted 100 stations. It's called your DXCC. It's kind of a big deal amongst the ham radio crowd. You can get the award for contacting 100 different stations in 100 different entities around the world, or you can get it specific to different bands. There's a similar award for the United States called Worked All States. If you've contacted all 50 states, you win the WAS award. Using this radio and FT8, I was able to contact all 50 states on 5 different bands. That's just some of the stuff you can do with this HF radio. We'll talk about other kinds of radio in our next video. If you're interested in getting involved in amateur radio, World Gone Silent's a great place to get started. We have starter kits that can get you on the air, including an HF kit that'll let you operate on HF modes, portably or even out of your house. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk soon.